Hello all, and welcome to the channel. Today we're getting back to our fourth episode of Rantings of a Raven, where in this episode we are going to be talking about UFOs, UAP, and generally about Bob Lazar's claims that he made in an interview back in 1989. I was but like 2 years old when these claims came out, so deep dived into the video. If you would like to see Bob Lazar's video, I do believe that is hosted on Netflix. But we deep dived into some of the so to say, chatter that has been about Area 51. I lived very close to the base. I lived in Las Vegas. We always heard about a lot of the chit chatter of Area 51 and necessarily what they were doing over there. And also, I never understood actually why there were certain parts of the desert we were never allowed to go into. So all of it is just a new discovery for me. It was a topic that I studied a lot when I was younger, but I feel like nowadays there's so much more information that is being obtained and not held back anymore. Whereas like back in the day and Bob Lazar's day, unfortunately, trying to bring up anything or say, like in the 90s, for instance, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, or oh, you know what I mean, like you're off the right wing on this whole topic. And I just feel like that's not really always the case. I I really feel like there was a lot of things held back, mostly fossil fuels, not wanting, a discovery of alternative sources of energy. You know what I'm saying? I have my different theories on it, but I'm gonna actually pass the torch over to Ravenblood here.
Hello, y'alls. So, like Miss Raven was saying, we are going to be talking about Bob Lazar and UFOs, spacecraft, UAPs, anything of that nature. That I know if some of y'all have been keeping up with anything of that nature, of these crazy, unidentified flying things flying in our skies, and let's just say in the recent, just 3 years now. Um, Here's a couple world events for you from that for just the last couple years. We had the Miami incident where there was supposedly a portal that opened and there was supposedly alien figures walking around, and there was supposedly UFOs coming out of the water and stuff. I'm not even
Now I'm sitting here
so
like,
that
what?
dude, they called, so it was a mall in Miami where some allegedly the report was that it was kids fighting and that there was bottle rockets or something thrown in the mix. And then police responded thinking that this might be an accusation. But what
Oh
ended
well,
up
yeah.
happening is they called in at least 200 freaking officers to this location, to this mall. 200 for a small incident. Go for it, Eric.
Yeah, so it's easy to dismiss like an individual claim, but when you have like 200 calls coming in about the same incident, like what are you going to call that? Mass hysteria? Are you going to say that 200 people saw something they didn't? Because you can see it, they took down the video footage like immediately after people started posting it, but I'm telling you, if you had the ability to see it when it was up, it does not look like CGI.
See, anything that's taken that comes up all of a sudden and then they rip down like that, I pay attention to it. Like, genuinely sticks in my mind the hardest.
I'm sorry, I was going to say the footage
The
that was
next
the
incident
hardest to
that
fake
happened.
was the outdoor footage where the creatures were roaming around in like the parking lot area, and it was taken from like a 10th floor apartment window. But it was obviously cell phone footage from an iPhone. It did not look like CGI.
That's just one incident from the last couple years, and then we had another one that just recently been happening with the New Jersey fucking sightings. New Jersey having all these fucking drone type UFOs and all the footage that's been coming out about those, And some of these videos have been in broad daylight or nice dimly lit conditions to where if you had like a ball of fucking light in the sky, you're gonna see it, right? People were actually recording on their phones and zooming in on these things, and it's not a physical object. It's legitimately just like this plasma ball just floating. And not only is it floating, it's doing all kinds of erratic behavior that an aircraft that we all know planes, helicopters can't fucking do. And it's doing all these maneuvers, but the thing that trips me out the most is that when they show up, they dim out like a light is dimming out, and then they just disappear. And all of this is in relation to, like we said at the beginning with Bob Lazar, flying saucers and UFOs, is because back in 1989, Bob Lazar was one of the first people to really come out about working at a secret location out in the Nevada desk site called S4. You can look it up. The government officially announced that it is a real
Well, it
place.
wasn't the only claim, right? Like
No,
there was
it
the
wasn't
whole.
the
I
only
mean,
one.
it wasn't the only one, but I do feel like with his background, it was one that was with substantial, education.
Well, I think what really brought his name to light, because if you guys get a chance, check out the documentary where we got a lot of our information. It's Bob Lazar, UFOs and Flying Saucers. Like she said, it's either on Netflix or YouTube. I know it's on YouTube because I've seen it on there.
It's going to be
So
posted in description.
right, but no, his claims though, are very valid, because one thing he will say, if you look at any interviews that he's done on YouTube with any other people that do podcasts, is that you think they just pulled his. That's my one correction of cuz, but you think they really pulled him out of high school just out of nowhere?
No. Well,
Like,
he was known as Jetman, right? He was building
exactly.
the rockets. He was messing with chemistry. He's always done science. The whole chemistry set spurred off his whole imagination on it. He was known as the Jetman. Like, he had all So I really feel like is very much a possible. I do believe in his claims. I also believe that nowadays we're much more in an open the door mindset about trying to release information. But I also feel like back in the 80s, nuclear power was like coming about. Everyone was holding protests and protesting against nuclear power, and fossil fuel companies were pushing forward with, wanting to keep their resources solid and their money, their monopoly solid. So when you talk about, a technology based on gravitational pull, and then the idea that if you really think about carbon emissions, okay, I wouldn't say, if I was to guess just off generalization, I know that factories and companies create more the pollution than, let's say, all of us driving our cars. But our cars definitely are like second to third to everyone driving, everyone commuting, the way that all of our machines run on, the way that everything runs on in general. There's such a monopoly in their whole thing. So if you take out a third of their monopoly by saying we can generate this, we can create this, what if he could? Like you said, now we prove that we have the technology. But what if the reasons why he was held back in that technology was because they knew we could recreate it, and they were like, it's probably not a good idea because that takes out of the monopoly of the fossil fuels, which was such a huge issue happening around that time anyway.
I mean, you're not wrong on that. I mean, you raise a really good question. A lot of people actually ask that question quite a bit, but this is why I want to bring up another person who also backs up Bob Lazar's, claims of working at S4 with the technology that was not of this planet, that we could not recreate on this planet, that Bob Lazar said. I quote, he said. And there's another gentleman named Stephen Guerrero, Dr. Stephen Guerrero, and he is known as the man that has brought forth the Disclosure Project back in 1993. And he also works in the intelligence community. He works with the government. He does work with people of the intelligence community from NSA, other three-letter agencies that we know of that we can't, but he's worked with them, and he's worked with, militaries and special forces officials, and talked to people who have actually had genuine encounters with these and actually have knowledge about the things that are not being brought to the public, which is deep black budget projects, the things that go deeper than our US government, deeper than, our Center Intelligence Agency, deeper than anything that you can think of. These are private organizations that have private rights to these technologies and are working hand in hand.
That had been set up before we were even.
Yep, because Stephen Greer has talked about that the military industrial complex that has been invented since after World War II. That's why we have all the advancement in the technology that we have with our stealth fighters, with our freaking fighter jets, with our military equipment. Hell, look at the cell phone you have right now. I'm
Yeah.
sorry to say, but that phone did not just come out of thin air. That came from some kind of source of
Well,
information
I
that goes
believe
beyond
that
our
what we were
comprehension.
sold to believe was that the idea came from Star Trek, yeah?
Right. That
With
would have been
the,
the idea. But
yeah.
that also stems back to, like I said, the 40s with Roswell and all that. But even events that go way even before those events. You know what I'm saying? But Dr. Stephen Greer, his mission right now, as we speak, you can even look this up on YouTube. He has his own YouTube channel if you want to check it out. He does open podcasts and talks about this very publicly with people. He expresses all the information that is being given forward, classified documents that now become declassified for the public to know. There are actual congressional meetings that happen a lot now because of him and bringing people forward. He's interviewed in the last 2 years around 1,600 people from the military and Central Intelligence Agency community, and all of these people are coming forward about their experiences and the black budget and where our money is going and where it's disappearing
See,
to.
that's another thing is a lot of people
And
like you had to be retired or like, and you know what's interesting? And Bob Lazar's first interview, the very first interview where he had where he was trying to like protect his identity and he did it in the car and everything. I wonder who was attacking him and his wife before his claims. Was that the military or
to be
like
honest
fear
with
on the
you,
military maybe?
even Bob has, if you look at any of the interviews, and he has had this question asked to him many times before,
Right.
um, he's not very forthcoming on who exactly it is that's coming after him, but he does know for a fact. And this is very much, like I said, even Dr. Stephen Greer has backed this up with all the information that he has gathered that's out for public. You can legitimately look all this stuff up. You can legitimately find it. And the people that are running this are companies that you wouldn't think are actually behind this kind of helicopter or any of those major aerospace kind of businesses and shit. SpaceX with Elon Musk and this is where we go into the conspiracy side a little bit. But if you really put your brain into this a little bit, let's put our tinfoil hats on for a second and let's, kind of deep dive this a little bit. We have a lot of manufacturing of military complex around the United States that are built towards making things for the military. So, and a lot of them are privatized. A lot of the materials that they have are privatized. A lot of the things and the information they have are privatized. And a lot of them are not willing to come forward about how and where they are acquiring said information to make said technology. So it is not a far-fetched idea to believe that these companies have deep pockets, obviously, and who's to say that they're not also pocketing some money to these deep, black budget projects to give them an edge in their technicalities, in their manufacturing, in their ideas for what the next future weapon is going to be. Because if you really look at how our vehicles and our cars and our phones are looking at, if you looked at things from like a 1940s person of Roswell and stuff, of how we thought alien technology was going to look at, and you dropped yourself with this technology we have today in their time, you are going to become. That's my second cuss word out of this whole thing. But you will look like an alien to them with your technology. We have aircraft in the sky that legitly, if you did not know any better, you would think was a UFO flying across the sky. When was the last time you saw a stealth bomber flying by and
Well,
you thought,
that's
"Oh, that's
another
a bomb,
thing
that's
is I
an actual
keep
plane"?
wondering, like, how old these like aliens would necessarily be. You know what I mean? I would relatively think that they
Well,
had
Bob
similar
Lazar has also,
lifespans towards us, or if
yeah.
not, similar to us. I don't know if necessarily like all because an alien species is an alien species that guarantees that they live 1,000 years or whatnot. I'm just saying, uh, or even that interstellar travel affects them as roughly as it affects us. Maybe in their technology and the gravitational machines they create their own gravity on the ship, so they're not really
Yep. And
affected by gravitational pulls.
exactly, just as, Bob Lazar described, because his whole job, and I want people to understand this about Bob Lazar, and he was very specific on this. When he was working at S4, everything was compartmentalized. Everything was on a strict, like, this is one section of project you are working on.
Well, it was like him seeing
And
the
this is one set.
alien. He
This
was like referring to as a 4 second visual that he saw through a
the whole,
window.
yeah, I might have saw an alien
Well,
or
and
whatever.
he really believes to this day that it was staged. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? But it
yeah.
didn't give him a lot of credit to his name because,
No, it didn't, because people like to hang on, like he said, people like to
people
hang on
hung
to the
on it.
minute,
Yeah.
stupid, distracting information that you can debate to the end of days.
Well,
But
he wanted to talk about it philosophically. He
he
wanted to
did,
talk about it on a
and
level
that's
that he could get people to understand what he was exactly working on, because he wanted to see if there was any way that we could theorize and figure out the technology for ourselves. And we did.
exactly, and that's where Dr. Stephen Guerrero also comes back into play, because he also, not only is he doing the Disclosure Project, but he is also has a thing called CE5, letter C, E, and 5. This is a thing where you can actually do on your own if you want to try to have a experience or a contact with them of real extraterrestrial intelligence, because Dr. Stephen Guerrero believes, and he's also a trauma doctor. That's his actual degree, is being a trauma doctor before he ever got into this field. But as a trauma doctor and his own personal experiences with having, seeing UFOs and stuff like that, he's a very meditative person. And then I know you, Raven, personally, you are a very deep meditative type person. You love that topic. You love deep diving into that. If you wanted to have,
I'm
but
sorry. I didn't mean to. I lagged out there for a second.
I liked it a little bit too, yeah.
Yeah, my bad. But no, I'm
But that's what
meditative in the
Dr.
philosophy, not the religion. I just want to clarify that because there's a lot
Right.
of, you
But
know,
for the philosophy, if you want to use that in translation to potentially having contact with a extraterrestrial being in our fucking skies, the theory is that he's been proven. It's actually had very great success, by the way. So he goes out to the Nevada desert, and he will bring a group of people for the CE5 project that they're doing. And what they do is collectively, they all are going there for the one simple goal that they would like to have an extraterrestrial experience and see something in the sky, but collectively coming together as a one mind, as a one being, to try to come peacefully, in a sense, to try to have contact. That seemed to have the best thing, and meditation for them was the best way to use it. And after they would be done meditating, they would start seeing things in the sky with night vision or with cameras and stuff. They could see flying objects in the sky after the experience. So it
we've seen
shows that,
orbs in the sky, things
yeah, and it
inside, like
shows that we
nothing.
don't need to like, we're showing now by that experience that these extraterrestrials that we want to think are like the big head with the fucking big eyes, tiny body, tiny little arms, looking like child size and stuff. We're starting to get out of that idea that this is what they are, and more of like, they are more fourth and fifth dimensional. They are beyond our brain and our physical senses comprehension of how they are able to communicate and how they are able to do things. But
Watch
as
it be
far as the
like we find out
physical,
the truth is like they live in mines on Mars and they're a lot
who
closer.
knows?
Like,
But who knows?
like watch it be something stupid. Like they are in our, you know what I
But to
mean? They've been
say,
here the whole or some shit, because the only proof of anything we've ever gotten was what's its name jettisoning through space, taking photos as it went through the universe that we set off in
Right.
1970.
But I mean, to sit and to say and to deny the fact that we have been visited, because even as I was going to say, Bob Lazar has also made claims that when he was out there and when the hangars were open and he saw 9 other crafts that we don't just have one, we have 9, and some of them looked ancient as if they were unburied, like they were buried.
Well, yeah, and that's what he
So
was
we don't
saying.
know how
Some were
long. We truly
operational.
don't know how long this Earth has been visited by something that we
Oh,
don't
I'm sure
understand.
there's I
And
they've
the fact
been
that we have it,
there the whole
that's
time.
the thing that people have to understand. We have it.
Yeah.
We have that technology. The problem is we
The
don't
government has
understand it.
it. Yeah.
We don't understand it because even Bob
Well,
Lazar,
we can't
Element
reproduce
115,
it.
Element 115 that he talks about in his, that's the biggest thing about his whole freaking documentary is Element 115.
Now I
The
have to ask, what
stable
was
element.
was it a farce that we found element 15 on Mars? Or
No,
not on
no,
Mars, on the
no.
moon
So
or
Russia was
something?
the ones that first started to synthesize it because Bob Lazar has also seen Russians working at S4 with them on the same project, working in a different, part of it because it was all compartmentalized. No one's talking with each other, no one's communicating with each other. Like you are working on this person's working on this, and that's it. Like you have no other fucking contact with no one else on the base. But Russians were there and they were working on it too, and they have made the success of synthesizing a version of Element 115. I don't remember what I think it's Adaptanium. That's what it is if you look it up. But it was synthesized in 2018. So we have a variant of Element 115 that Bob Lazar claimed. The problem is that the one that he talked about, that he worked on, because he worked on propulsion. That was his thing. He worked on the propulsion aspect of the vehicle, how it was actually running and operating. He didn't work on
Well,
anything
that was
else.
another thing
So,
too, was not only how it ran and stuff, but how people could handle, because like they believe that, generally, if we do discover aliens or have contact with aliens, they're not within the Milky Way. They're not in our galaxy. They're in some other galaxy somewhere else,
right.
potentially, is the idea around it. Where I just think that we know as much about our own galaxy as we
You
know
know,
about our deep oceans.
Yeah.
the Space Web James Telescope actually cannot confirm, but we have found some kind of molecules and an exoplanet
Yeah.
that is produced by life.
Yeah. We're
Uh,
Yeah.
discovering new planets every day,
if I say,
with this new
yeah,
telescope. We're
yeah, so
finding it every day, and a lot of them are able to sustain life of some sort. We don't know what that may be.
if I'm correct, they were able to go to the atmosphere, and they found something that can say that there might be life on that planet. So yeah, and I'm not surprised about this because as far as far as I know, there is there's just such no thing as you know uh, there must be life, and that's everywhere. It's just it's
It's very
in
much a
our
religious belief that we
in
are
our
the center of the universe. It's very much a religious belief
Mm-hmm.
that the whole concept that we are the only sentient beings that are in existence. We are meek, man. The only thing that makes us strong is our advancements in creativity and intuition and how to our invention
Being innovative. Yeah.
being invented. That's the only thing that makes us be survivors, is that if
We can
without
just
that
invent. Yeah.
we are harmless. We are really not as
the
strong as we
problem.
wish we
Here's a
were.
better perspective. And like I said, with all
We can
that,
by birds, yo.
right?
The
But yeah, I
problem is
mean, with
the
that being
problem
said,
is
though, like I said, to say that we are the only, like we're the only things intelligent in this universe is a far fetched lie to me, because we know for a fact now that We have the technology here on Earth. Let's make this
Yeah,
clear. We have the freaking technology.
maybe the life like you see to us, like being a human being, having arms and legs. It might be different somewhere else. It might be like something totally like maybe something you cannot imagine. You don't have to think, yeah, aliens, they might exist because in our universe, the endless universe, it contains everything. Every possible thing you can imagine is in here. That's my theory about.
Oh, I agree with you 100%, brother. 100 freaking percent on that. And but I think the suppression of this information to the public though that we have the fucking technology. Okay, we have it. Like if that's what people want to know. Do we have it? Do we not? And all we get told is a bunch of lies and the turnaround of, yeah, we may have it, we may not have it, but do you want to really take the risk of finding out? And I think that's freaking stupid. I think that no, like if this can truly help people and help our countries become better and less pollutant and give our grandchildren and our great grandchildren and all of them a fighting freaking chance to live on this earth a few years longer, I'm down for that. I am
Yep.
totally down with that. But if we're going to keep suppressing and dividing and, saying that we have it, but we're not going to give it to you kind of thing, like, no. Like, that's what's going to be the downfall of a lot of places, I believe, is the suppression of information and the
Oh
suppression
yeah.
of advanced technology. And that's what Dr. Stephen Guerrero is trying to push for. That's what Bob Lazar brought to the public eye for us. Like, Bob Lazar doesn't do interviews as much anymore. Bob Lazar wants to be left telling you guys now, leave him alone. Don't message him, don't call him, don't show up at his house, don't ask for an interview. Like, leave this man alone.
By
30
no
years this man
means, we
gave.
didn't even ask him for an
No,
interview
we're doing
for
this on our
doing
own
this
free
whole
admission.
thing.
We're
I
doing this
will
on our
give
own
him
free admission,
credit
our own
for
free
the
will.
interview he did,
Yep.
but other than that, we are merely commenting on his 1989 deal, what he said then, and how that's followed with society and how they've taken that and just
But that's also why I want to put Mr. Guerrero on the map too. I mean, he's very well known. A lot of people know him in the UFO communities and stuff. So, but I want to give
exactly.
Guerrero more of that acknowledgement right now because
Yeah.
Bob Lazar did more than enough to bring this to the public
Now,
eye,
if
and the
Greer
man
wanted to
deserves.
come on here and talk with us, that
Yeah,
would
I
be,
would
I
love
would
that. I would
love.
love to talk to that man.
On
Like,
that
seriously,
note, I just want to slide in here real quick.
go for it, girl.
So we are throwing out promotions for the channel that we're hosting on, that we're talking on together. This is called Seekers Chat. I'm wearing the shirt right here. If you guys would like to be a part of an amazing chat community where we all get together and basically hang out. No, just for a place for friends, but also we're trying to open avenues of, promoting and grapevining effect to get the word out there about this amazing chat community. And I just wanted to highlight them, and come check it out, www.seekerschat.com. And also, if you want to come and hang out on the podcast and join in these conversations that we're having in the room, Raven's Lair is the room that we're in, and we do the podcast on Wednesdays around 11 a.m. Central Time. Alrighty, and we're back into it. So really quickly, I also wanted to highlight Jerry Freeman, who was reportedly the person who got the closest to Area 51. He did this around 1996. This is on Google, by the way. I had to look him up. He reportedly snuck onto the base while researching pioneer journals in the area. He gained unauthorized access to the restricted area part of Area 51. He also has a video of this on YouTube. I do not know if it's still up or what the deal with that necessarily is, but I do know that I have seen it taken down multiple times. And I do know that in the video, I did watch the video, and he apparently got as close as the lake. And there are video clips of him trying to show the lake. Mind you, very all over the place, and Yeah, and he was saying there were like routine patrols every 5 minutes, and I just find it very hard for him to get is in this base as he said he got, because I just know how military bases are. It's just hard for me to believe how far he snuck onto this actual base. And not
And not
only
only
that, being
that, the
exposed to the
fact that he went
radiation.
on Area 51, like, it's already bad to not, like, try crossing into Fort Campbell. I mean, you might have a little success. You might.
Yeah.
But Area 51, like, they have ground sensors, they have audio sensors, they have
In
all
the
kinds of
future,
things
it'll
in
be a
that valley
museum.
leading up to those gates. Like, they will know you're coming, like, 10 miles out before you even get there. Like, watch all the YouTube videos of people trying to, like, go visit the base. Before they even get, like, 5 miles down the road closest to the base, they already have patrols
Remember
already
when
going by.
everyone was like, "We're gonna go down there. We're gonna
But,
go down
so
there,"
the
and
funny
every
thing is
it was
about
like
that.
that huge.
The
Wasn't
funny
it
thing
like
is about that.
2018 or 2019? Oh, you're lagged. You stopped lagged. Oh,
2018, I think.
there we go. 2018. Okay, I caught that.
Yeah, 2018 is when it happened. But I always watch. Me and my girl were watching all a lot as many YouTubers that were live streaming it that night. Every single one of them after the event, not a single video was up, or the videos were uploaded and then taken down about a couple hours, if not the next day. Completely
Mm.
gone. Like, you cannot find a single video besides what you see from news reportings or whatever, or maybe some small, very edited videos of them attending the raid or whatever. But no, like, they no, anything that you find of information or any videos you see on YouTube of people getting close to the base, you're going to see how strict in the daylight they are with you just coming
Same thing
within
with the
a
FEMA camp
mile of the
videos.
base.
Same with
Just
the
to
FEMA
get,
camp videos. Same with the
yep,
videos about all the
they don't
plastic
want nobody to
coffins.
know what's going out there, and they will do whatever it is that they got to do. Now, the shoot to kill that used to be in back in the 50s and the 60s with Area 51, that's no longer a thing. They don't do that no more. But you will spend a lot of time in jail with a almost $500,000, or no, $250,000.
Freeman with a huge fine. So
Like, yeah, so if you go to the, I'm telling people, like, everyone, if I've not seen the videos of people warning you, I'll give you the warning now. If you're gonna go see Area 51 for yourself, whether it's the back gate or the front gate, whichever gate that you would decide you want to go to, just know that if you go there and if you cross that line, you are going to get arrested. And those camo dudes do not play around.
I'm also going to highlight on another topic real quick for Area 51. That area, excuse me, as you fly right out of Vegas. So Vegas is like here's here's the whole state, like right here, right? Area 51 is like somewhere right here in between Reno and Las Vegas. And there's this area of mountain ranges that desert out mountain ranges that kind of outlines this area. And then you have the Mojave Desert kind of down here, right?
Yep.
Well, they actually call it the Nevada Triangle because of so many planes that went missing in this area, so many missing person reports of people hiking in this area, never to be seen again. These are like a lot of times the
UFO
military.
sightings.
Yeah, well, the military would run drills out there because they
Yep.
wanted the high heat, the Mojave Desert heat. They wanted to have the high desert, or it wasn't high desert training, but it was like desert training out
Yeah.
there. And there were groups of people who went missing, that were unaccounted for, never seen again, never heard of again, or in some cases they were found again with memory loss, they ended up in areas that there's no could have ever ended up there. There's no way to travel there. There, even with all the experience that these guys had, it was just humanly impossible to get to some of the areas in the time that they were missing and found, or like even unless someone put a jetpack on his, you know what I mean? Like there's no way that within means he could have made this trip on foot. So there's so many I really think the Nevada Triangle is another highlighted topic. Like, if anyone wants to look into that, of the different triangle conspiracies, I guess. But I remember also recently when I was there in 2020, there was like a helicopter that went missing in that area with like 5 different guys, and they couldn't find the guys. So yeah, it's there's a lot of crazy things that I feel like with UFOs that happens between Nevada, Arizona, and New Mexico. And I think those 3 states, the Mojave Desert in general, is highly focused on with UFO activity. But I'm not saying, I wouldn't say that's for everywhere. I do feel like there's places on the East Coast, for instance, that experience a lot of paranormal activity. And then you were talking about a subject earlier with with Mexico and their claims, or
Yeah, so Mexico has their own version of a Roswell out there, and they actually have their own version of pieces of the technology that were there. It's like brackets and shit that they have from the spacecraft, but same situation like the Roswell, where they came in, the military came in afterwards, saw it, picked it up, scooped it up, told the people in the press that it's just a balloon or it's just this or that, and covered it up basically. But there were kids that went and found that crash and saw the crash, went to the crash, collected a piece of the crash, came home with the piece of the crash before they picked it all up.
do you believe in the story about the alien that worked on the base in the 1960s? That was a part of the one alien that survived the Roswell crash, and supposedly he worked on the Area 51 base throughout the 60s and died in the early like 70s.
I mean, I don't think at this point, with like I said, when it comes to the disclosure project that now we're a part of, since we're talking about it, we're a part of it now.
You
Um,
know,
but
but
I
I
would
mean,
honestly say that the idea isn't too far fetched.
the whole part of Rantings of a Raisin is to cover the unknowns and the untruths. So,
Exactly.
you know
So
what? Like,
there's
if we
not.
if we kick a few doors down and say, hey, what do you know? It's just because the pursuit of knowledge and education is essential. We're
It's a
always
real
learning.
thing. It's
It's
a
a
real
real
thing.
thing. We're always learning. My cat is about to knock down my wall.
There's the
I
first
was like,
blooper of the
ah, the
day.
aliens! They're coming to get me!
There's the first blooper of the day.
He's like, ah! I'm like, ah!
And we are at 3 minute mark.
Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna probably end it here. So, thank you all for joining in on our lovely conversation about UFOs and the unknown. Next week, we are probably going to be getting into Mothman prophecies, about generally how the subject is represented today versus how it was represented in the 90s with the film, and get a little bit into the mythology of the Mothman and what he necessarily represents. Thank you all for joining. I'm Raven Laced,
I'm
and
Raven Blood.
lose your mind and find your soul. Have a very nice day. Peace out.
Peace.